moderate some of the panels this weekend. Thank you so much for being here. Enough about me. Ladies and gentlemen, Rosario Dawson. Between DS9 and Next Generation.
Oh, wow. I mean, DS9, it's just chaos. There's so much crazy insanity things happening, but I'm always going to be a next-gen person, you know? And then, but I have, you know, like, there was a moment where I actually got asked to do something on it. I had just signed on Ahsoka, so I had to do the other space opera, like, I couldn't do both. But I could have been one of Odo's species, which is slang. I could have been an immortal puddle, guys. Do you understand? Could you understand my pain? Yeah, it would have been really cool. I also really pushed to be a Q. Like my dad, that was my dad. He was like, be Q. And I was like, I'm trying. So, right? Because then I can just like be, you know, annoying and messy and like, you know, just like cause chaos, which I just love.
But the thing is, if you're also like a hardcore fan, getting invited to play in that sandbox, I'm sure you obviously, you know, you're experiencing it with Star Wars.
Yeah, I got asked to do a voice on Below Deck, and I sent to Dave actually, because actually it's a Disney developer who's been working with them doing inventions and stuff for like 25 years. He just came up with the saber that actually comes out and goes back in, it's amazing. But he also created this floor that you can stand on and walk in any direction and stay in place. And I was like, we're so close to the holodeck. And I felt like it was okay to send to him because it's made by Disney. So like, here's the crossover we really need. Like, that's when it's okay to cross the streams, you know what I mean?
What is the most nervous you've been the night before filming the first day of something?
Oh man, so many times. I mean, I like had to hold the paper just when I was auditioning for Rent. Like that was just like so insane for me. That was definitely, I think, one of those ones. Because me and Tracy were doing movies, and it's 6 out of the 8 original cast members. And they performed it a gazillion times, and we were like that annoying people where, you know, Anthony would be like, wait, how did I do that? I mean, you did it like this, and your hand was like that, and then your breath, and you took a breath here, and you'd be like, cool, I don't have to like match it perfectly. And we're like, okay, but just let it go.
I know, listen, people loved your work in Iron Fist and Defenders, and I'm just curious, is there any chance any chance that Claire might be coming back anytime soon?
I have to say that was one of the things that I signed the most while I was here. It's so great to be able to spend time with Jeff. We had dinner last night and see Vincent and Charlie and everyone, so I would absolutely love it. I know some folks didn't like the walk of shame that he did when She-Hulk, but I thought that was fire. It was hilarious. You know, all's forgiven. I had my coffee too, I get it. But I don't know, I would love to hang with them and play with them again. That was such a great time, and you know, Marvel, Disney, they got my number, they know where I am.
I was gonna say, you have a pretty good relationship with Disney, you know? Let's talk a little bit about Ahsoka. This is a little generic, but I am so sincere when I say this. Like, what's your favorite part about playing Ahsoka?
The family. Like, it's such an amazing group of people. Like, spending time with Diana and Iman, and, you know, I just was with Ivana, and Natasha is incredible. Like, we all share such strong values of just, like, being kind and, you know, environmentalists, just good people. We were just celebrating Ray, who we lost, unfortunately, a year ago. He was absolutely brilliant. He was, like, the epitome of, male, testosterone, alpha, like energy, and like would bring all these crystals, and just also it was very connected to his divine feminine. And it was just like, you know, you see Ivana, she just doesn't blink, and she seems like so intense, and then she's just like goofy and giggling afterwards. And he's just like the nicest, most wonderful people who work really hard. Like we are putting in the hours. It is really intense, and that's just true for everyone in the entire crew. Like they all saw, like you talk to anyone, you bring anyone, and they're going, I watched the making of VHS of Star Wars when I was a child, and this so we're putting in 12, 14, 16 hours a day and not even blinking twice just because we just love it so much. So that was my thing. I'd come in after lunch and be like, we're making Star Wars, like, you know, just freaked out. Like, and I remember it was like a whole thing because they had just come off of Mando 2, and then we were coming right into Ahsoka, and everyone was so burnt out, they were exhausted. And some new crew had come on, and they were like, you know, we're here for Dave and Rosario. We just know they're going to carry us through, and it's just going to be so much fun and have such a great time. And one of the guys was like, she has so much energy, she always has so much energy, like, this is going to be great. I was like, yeah, could you do it for 6 months, though? And they're like, yeah, she could absolutely do it for 6 months. And for 6 months, I was like, oh my God, like, every single day. Up until, like, the last episode, I'm doing this whole big battle with these stormtroopers that will just not die. And, you know, and we're just fighting, and there was this one moment we're shooting in the volume, and I'm just, like, the ceiling, the floor, the walls, like, everything in front of me, the cameras were behind us, so we're just shooting, and I just, all of a sudden I look down and I turn on both of my lightsabers, and I just felt like I dropped into the dopest VR experience that was just like so real. And I'm just standing there, and the stormtroopers are coming up, and I didn't have to worry about it because they have terrible aim anyway. So I was like, and I'm just standing there looking, and Dave's like, are you gonna move? And I was like, oh, right. But I was just like having a moment, like, I can't believe this is surreal, this is magical.
I think most people here know what the volume technology is, but what is it like for you? You've worked obviously in other environments. Do you envision the volume as being something that is going to be on more productions? Do you enjoy working on the volume, or do you think it's appropriate for select things?
No, I mean, I think what's really cool about it, we just did I just introed with Frank Miller, his documentary that is just out and is so great. And it was just bringing back all those memories of filming that with him and Robert, and literally using tape on the floor and like walking around, and whenever we had to do overs, we would have to turn and move because the cameras had to stay fixed. Like, it was just, and that was like the most advanced technology at that time. So to be in this place now where you're not having to go to the monitor and then see, you know, how Robert kind of has all these different like buttons he can press and just show, like, okay, there's Marv walking in color on a treadmill, and then with a green screen, and then just press something in the treadmill and everything disappear, and then suddenly the fans make sense because now there's this rain that's coming down, and it's like you're reading the book, and it's absolutely incredible. But now you can walk on the volume and like have a feeling like you're literally, you know, on the holodeck. It's just like this amazing VR experience, and so like I think absolutely we're going to see it in a lot more productions. But I really, again, like that technology is starting to exist in a few years' time. You too will have that experience. I know it. I believe it.
Well,
So cool.
the coolest thing is, and if people don't know, like in the Batman, Matt Reeves, that one sunset golden hour shot of Catwoman and Batman was done on the volume. And the thing that's cool about the volume, I think, is that you can shoot at the golden hour all day.
All day, yeah, and you can control all the elements. Like I tell people, like when I did Jane the Virgin, we shot at the studio in El Segundo. It's also where they did Avatar. So like the tank that I had in my show was one of the I was like in water at that studio in one of the like side tanks that they use for Avatar. But our actual stage that we use is the exact same studio from when we did Jane the Virgin. Like Jane the Virgin had been there for 5 years. All my scenes with Petra, everything, and the houses and stuff that they built inside, suddenly got switched out, and that's where I fought the Magistrate. That's where I named Grogu for the first time and had the moon behind us. That's where I fought Balin's skull. Like all in the exact same thing. The next day you walk in and there's a ship in there. It's like unbelievable, like the kind of turnaround and what's possible, and it's just absolutely magical. And I don't know, I think it's been like probably the most remarkable, inspiring experience of my life. And every season, like going from Mandalorian to Boba Fett to this, you just kind of see the technology get better and better and better. And so it's just, I don't know what could possibly be next for it, but I'm excited to see what they come up with. Because Jon Favreau, thinking from Swingers to just like Lion King and just inventing technology. It's just, I can't even imagine what they're going to bring next. I'm so stoked to see their movie when they finally get it done.
I'm going to quote you. It's called Holodeck. I mean, seriously, you put that in all four directions, and anyway, and you have a treadmill below you. So, as a fan of Ahsoka, I'm just curious if Dave Filoni has said anything to you about the status of another season.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take it a little further. Has he asked you to save any dates, say, later this year or next year?
You know what's so messed up about that? That's the question I asked him the most, and that's the thing he's not been forthcoming about. He told me a lot of other details that you would find very interesting. That I was totally tantalized to hear. And I have to say, it was right when we did this panel with Hayden and Natasha and, you know, in LA. And he's just like, I was not expecting this. Like, he just starts going on, I'm writing an outline, and then blah, 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 right? And he's saying all this stuff. And there was this security guard who was like, not that far from us, like, just kidding. And I was like, yo, if he can read lips, we're in trouble. It's like, he said, was so forthcoming, but I can tell you, asked a million times when we were going to be shooting, and suddenly that was the one thing he didn't hear. And I was like, okay.
The thing about Dave, though, is he has the juice to do whatever, you know, he's the guy. So, like, if he's writing it, that's a good chance that it's being made.
So, yeah, I mean, when that was sort of announced, they already said that already. So, like, it's happening. I just don't have any other details to make out. I would say something.
When you think about the first season, well, actually, when you think about all the times you've played Ahsoka through the shows, do you have a favorite episode or a favorite scene that really has stuck with you? Or is it sort of, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, so many things. You know, I knew Hayden since we were teenagers. This year is 30 years since we filmed Kids. Next year will be the 30-year anniversary of it coming out. And I met him in acting class that summer of when Kids was in actual theater. And then just a few years later, he got Anakin. And then we did a film together a few years after that. So there's like these pictures that Dave talks about that blew his mind to see us as, you know, young people, like, and knowing each other. So doing these scenes with him, like, we recorded Rent. We recorded all the songs at Skywalker Ranch. So, like, I had, like, this kind of weird, like, degrees of separation kind of thing with Star Wars for so long, but I didn't even dream of it. Like, it wasn't even something you could have imagined. So I just thought that was just cool that somehow what I got to do for a living got me close to something so tremendous. So to be in those scenes with him, to be like, you can see there's video, they put me on blast of freaking out since working with Mark Hamill. Because I totally, and I was like, I get it, Plo Koon should be dead, like it didn't have made any sense because they wrote Plo Koon, so I was like, I'm gonna take it for what it is, and then maybe they figured out something that's Force Ghost, I don't know what's happening. And then he's there, and I'm like, and I've since done a couple more things with him, so I played it a little cooler. We did a reading of like Fright Night recently, and we did a reading of, you know, It's a Wonderful Life, and he does this like little Joker laugh, and like freak out, melt, you know, it's awesome. But like that was just magical, you know, being able to name Grogu, doing the Force. I think the first time doing that with the stone and how they made that happen was just unbelievable. Yeah, just like all of it, like it just blows my mind, like every second of every day. It was magic.
You recently, as you said, moderated a thing with Frank Miller, who is, I mean, a god at, speaking of Comic-Cons, and, you know, it's Frank Miller. How did you prepare for the questions you wanted to ask him?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, my main question, obviously, was Sin City 3. And he was like, yeah, let's do that Western. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. But I love him so much, and I'm just so glad he's healthy and well, and all the things that he's doing, and it's just been such a long journey, and it's kind of remarkable. I'm so grateful for my Uncle Gus, who's a comic book artist, who introduced me to just the appreciation of the world of comics, so that, like, when that audition came up for Sin City, I could appreciate exactly what it was, and it just, you know, to see, I was just happy to be there and be with him, but to, like, really take in the breadth of his work. Because it's like, you forget now on the other side of all of these massive comic films and franchises and like where we are, which is so ubiquitous, it just was like unheard of at that time. You know, this is pre-300, pre any of that, and to have spent that one-on-one time with him, to see his like bewilderment that these characters he drew by himself that he figured Hollywood would never want to touch, he was suddenly like walking around and talking talking to him and having barbecue. Like he was freaking out, and it was just so delightful. And I was just glad to be around him and see he's just still just as excited. And I love that he's like now into Superman and doing all his other things. Like he just keeps graduating into these sort of different levels of just storytelling. That is just it was just a marvelous thing. I highly recommend watching the film because it's just the breadth of work and again top, as he says, like top 5 artists, top 5 writers, and then directing and like it's kind of incredible what he's done in this amazing industry and what he's given to all of us. So yeah, I'm just so grateful for him.
I'm not sure if you are, I'm not sure how much knowledge you have with comic books, but 1986 had The Dark Knight, and Dark Knight Returns, and Watchmen.
It talks about like they did not know, and that was to give you a little bit of the film, was like they sent over from Marvel, from DC, they sent over some of the stuff that he was drawing to them in England, and they were like, oh snap, because they knew they were doing a kind of dark turn, which was sort of the first time that had ever really happened, and making like, these adult sort of comics and like new perspective on Batman, and was worried for a second of like retired, like older, like, comic, heroes and stuff like that, and it was like, oh thank God it's not the same exact thing, but oh my God, we're on the same page. So to think about those two dropping at the same time is just like blowing people away. I have to say, that Michael Keaton's my forever Batman. So excited. So excited to work with him on Road 6. So excited to see him in Beetlejuice again. And that turn of character got us away from like Go-Go Gadget Belt Batman, which was awesome. Because, we got so much out of that, including Eartha Kitt as Catwoman. But at the same time, right? But at the same time, it's like, that kind of more brooding, kind of different, more psychological, like in-depth characterization of this whole world that really, it still moves me, came out of that brilliant mind of his. And so, yeah, it blows me away. But Watchmen I've read a couple of times, actually, because it's just so good.
It's crazy to me, for you guys, if there's anyone young in the audience who has not read Watchmen,
You gotta read it, yeah. The movie's good, the show's good, but like, you gotta read it. There's so many details, there's so much material in there, it's kind of such a breath, you know what I mean? Like, I'm obsessed.
On that note, let's take some fan questions, starting right over there.
Hey, my name's Brian, and I was wondering what it was like meeting the voice actress of Ahsoka from the Clone Wars.
Ashley!
Yeah.
Yes, that was amazing. I always feel like I look like I'm eating her because I'm so big and like I'm always squishing her in big hugs. I adore her so much. She came to visit on set, so it was great because we had this like online kind of connection, but we hadn't met until she came. And it was like meeting a Disney princess. She had this like bleached, beautiful hair and sparkling shoes. And I felt so bad because we were on these mounds of dirt. It was filthy. It was like the worst day to be dressed so cute on set. And I was like, I'm so sorry, no one told you. And she was like, no, it's okay. I have lots of these shoes. And I was like, oh my God. She's so sweet. I'm so obsessed with her. I love her mental health Mondays that she does. I think she's just such a brilliant human being and heart. I love that she has a clothing line because I also have a clothing line. It's like an Ahsoka thing. So we're connected.
You guys each have to model each other's clothing.
Thank you.
Sweet. Anyway. Over here.
Hi, Mackenzie. Good to see you again.
AKA Max Vigo, and I have a question for you.
Oh.
How do you hear this, like, headpiece? Like, it's, like, really low. Like, I can hear it.
I hear you. Yeah, it's very isolating, I have to say. We started off doing the makeup. It would take like 3 hours just to do the makeup. That's not piece and clothing or anything. We got it down to an hour and a half. That's still 2 people doing the makeup. And once that headpiece comes on and the contacts come in, it's a whole meditative experience putting it on. But then it's kind of meditative all day. It's very isolating because again, I cannot hear people that well. I can't physically move that well. So I know it's a little stiff, but that's the thing of getting into live action because it's kind of have to almost move all together just because it's so heavy and because of the tail and the back, you know what I mean? And you can't really rotate too much. It's pretty intense. But I love that actually. It was one of the great things about preparing for this role was I got to meet Shannon Lee, who is Bruce Lee's daughter. And she would tell me, about all of the different ways that he kind of, represented discipline. We saw how physically he was just such a remarkable specimen of discipline. But also she said he had thousands of books, he had tons of journals, the most beautiful penmanship, and he would just, like philosophy and just like educating himself, and his mind, heart, and spirit and body was just so crucial. So that's kind of what I would think about all the time with her, and be in those spaces and watching everyone else do their thing and be able to joke around more. It was just sort of like, she is in this sort of stoic, serene place in her life, and grappling with a lot of demons. So it's been nice to kind of see her, through these 3 shows, and Mando and Boba and Ahsoka, kind of like come into this different energy. So now that she's Ahsoka the Light, I'm hoping we get to explore a little bit more of that lightness with her. And so I hope we can figure out something with that, so I can hear a little bit more and see a little bit easier, because that would be really, really nice, because I think that would help with that. But even if not, I'll make it happen. But just be like, what'd you say? Even if I have to put like a little earwig, I'll do what I gotta do. But it is a challenge. So I'm very impressed, because every time I see you, you are rocking Ahsoka, and I see the effort, and I really appreciate it. You're great.
Hi, my name's Troy. I was wondering, we've seen quite a few costumes so far with Ahsoka. Which one is your favorite?
All of them on my show, because they're new. I think I was worried the first time I put on the costume. I thought I was going to get fired, because I was literally doing jumping jacks. Me and Sean, I was like freaking out. They were like, oh no, they're reconsidering. They're upset. They're like, why did we hire her? She's crazy. But I was so excited, because it felt like, okay, this is a cosplay. Like this is a new story. This is a new adventure. This is a new outfit and look and everything. And that was just so exciting to me. So every time I get to put on another costume, it's another part of, Ahsoka's journey that we get to explore and share. That's just amazing to me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Over here.
My name's Edwin. It's great to meet you this weekend. Thank you. Thank you for bringing Ahsoka to live action and continuing the great work started by Ashley. I was going to say, yesterday when I had my photo op with you, I was wearing my Star Wars t-shirt and I had my Star Trek lapel pin, and you made a comment about, oh, cool to see Star Trek, and your comments today about being a Trekkie made perfect sense. People say, oh, you're sending mixed messages. I'm like, no, I'm sending one message. I like both, and that's okay.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's a lot of ways to project what the future could look like, or what we could be, in the world. And I love both of those stories and the lessons they give.
And with regards to Star Trek, I would say the night is young. You're going to be in it yet. I guess my question.
Trying to be in all the universes in 3D.
I guess my question for you is, like, seeing Lars Mikkelsen, as Grand Admiral Thrawn, and having read the books, like, hair stood up on the back of my neck. Seeing you as Ahsoka, phenomenal, and you're all in the same series. Do you have any stories from the set about working with Lars?
I mean, he's amazing. He would be dressed up. It's like he discovered hot dogs for the first time. So he would always go outside for like a cigarette break. Don't smoke, everybody. It's but he would always go out for a cigarette break and a hot dog. Like I constantly saw this man eating hot dogs. It was so funny to me, but he was like really into it. And as a Coney Island girl who's a Nathan's girl, like I was vibing with that like so hard. And I have this thing I always joke about it, because we all know that like Pedro Pascal has become the space daddy, right? But of course we know this. But I was like Grand Admiral Thrawn is definitely space daddy, because I don't get to meet him at all in the show, but he has this like voiceover that he does. I think they actually ended up changing it, because the one that they had in the recording was just like, I was like, dude, what's happening? I was like, Sabine, go in the back, he's talking to me. It was like, Ahsoka Tano. And I was like, it's a personal message, like everybody's gonna go, yeah, you're not here. And I was like, where's Daddy? Like, what's happening? I said that to Dave, he was like, what are you doing? Like, don't ruin this for me. And I'm like, oh, don't ruin it for me. This is why I'm after him.
Thank you for that. I now have a mental image of him as the Thrawn with a hot dog and a cigarette.
So these will be on Instagram within 2 days.
Yes, and I
not to mention just seeing you right there, absolutely incredible. I've been a Clone Wars fan since day one. I've been there since day one. I remember all the nasty things people would say about Ahsoka and all these stuff in it. Loving her since day one, it just broke my heart. And it was such a huge blessing and privilege to see you bring her live action. That was absolutely incredible. You delivered flawlessly. Flawlessly. You did not say anything. And I just wanted to, my question is, I just wanted to
Planted him, like this is, I put him there.
I just wanted to know, like, what were some of the things that you would do to prepare for if you did watch the Clone Wars, which I'm pretty sure you did.
A couple times, yeah.
Of course. And what was some of the process of really getting that character down? Because when I watched the animation to the live action, there's like zero skip beat, and I think that it's incredible. So.
Watched it like crazy, and particularly noted like all the transitions that she had season to season, and then going into Rebels, and how different tonally she was, and the experiences she had, and then really just tried to place her where she was at this moment, and had like volumes of conversations with Dave, you know, and like, you know, it would be interesting because we would perform it in different ways, and you know, it was sort of just like really kind of taking it down, and you get it, you know what I mean? I didn't even fully appreciate where the arc was going until we got to Ahsoka the White, really, and kind of saying, oh, I get it, like you're still putting her in this place of where she's ruminating the guilt that she still somewhat has, the stuff that we get, you know, like had she not left the Jedi Order, you know, would that have been something that could have affected, you know, Anakin's choice? And just sort of like being a Ronin for so long, what that experience was. So it was beautiful to have these like archive of memories that I could go back in. And, you know, I think one of the most powerful moments, and Dave's just brilliance as a storyteller, is, you know, what we did in episode 5 of being able to, for the fans who had loved it and seen it before, be able to see what that was, to see Anakin and, you know, what Ariana's amazing performance as young Ahsoka. And have that kind of realized, but also for the person who'd never seen it before to really get just like the trauma that comes in for this young, powerful warrior who had been raised to be a warrior her whole life, and just the toll and the burden of that, and all the things that she had seen, because it's one thing to see it in the animation, it's another thing when you're seeing this young, small person in the midst of war. Like it's like so palpable and heavy. All of those conversations, looking back, I just put in perspective the conversations with Rex and all those moments of doubt that Ahsoka had, you know, going in and losing troops, and the kind of the intensity of being a leader and what that requires, and the sacrifices that it entails, and again, just how lonely that is, you know, to be in that kind of position. And to see like how she can't be vulnerable in a lot of ways, and she's kind of cut that off. So it was just beautiful to just make her every moment of it just feel realer and realer and realer. And I remember while we were filming on Ahsoka, he showed me some of the stories that ended up coming out, and you got to see little baby Ahsoka. And I got to see it before it got released out, and it was so powerful to see that and see just how force sensitive she was at such a young age, and to see her mother and her father and her culture, and how strong they were, and how prepped from the beginning, you know, to kind of be in the position that she was just clearly meant to be in, you know, and I don't know, it really warmed her. It makes her just so real to me. This is definitely not like a role you put on and walk away from. Like it's become like a part of me, and I'm so grateful that we get to continue exploring it.
You are her, and she is you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
What's it like working with Quentin Tarantino and Joe? That's proof.
God, what a dude, man. I have to say, Quentin is very clear about the fact that if you're not there for rehearsal, your part is not guaranteed. Like, you don't mess around with that. Like, I think some of my favorite things was being on his set, because there's no phones allowed, you're not supposed to, no magazines. Like, he's like, if you're making this movie, you're making this movie, I don't need you to have a moment of inspiration a month later. Like, I need you to be here right now and like in it 100%. He plays music for everyone, so the whole crew and cast is together. It's not like people are siloed off and being like in their special little areas. Just like, it's no, we're all in this together. And he's very, you know, he's very like only child, you know what I mean? Like he's like, this is what I envision, this is what I want, this is what we're doing. But like, he plays all these games, like you can, if you catch something that's on set, that would be a giveaway. Like we were filming in Texas, and it would have been like a wrong area code. He'll give you like $5. Like he loved, like my brother's here. We used to sing "Paradise by the Dashboard Light," which is totally inappropriate, like for 2 children to sing. It's a love song all the time, but we loved it, and so he was super stoked that I knew all the words. So we like karaoke'd it one day, which was like, it's a long song. It's like 5, 7 minutes long. And he was like super into it, and I think that's what allowed him to accept. Like I had some suggestions. So I had asked if I could do the leg kick at the end, and we argued about this. He was like, no, the death blow is the roundhouse that Zoe does. And I was like, no, I get it, but like, I could also do this cool thing on my leg. Like, it would be dope to like put it in. And he's like, no guarantee. And then we shot it, and he had this like low camera angle, and it looked cool. And he was like, never told me. Like again, like there's that only child thing that just like kind of gets you like an uncle, you know. And I didn't know until the premiere, after the freeze frame with the roundhouse kick, which is the death blow, I was like, oh, I guess you didn't use it. And then the camera, and then it comes back into the scene, and I do the high kick leg on Kurt's like rubber face, because it was obviously not him. And I was just like, and I was like, you didn't tell me this. Like, he's just that guy. Like, I bet him, like, how many times he said the D word. Okay, maybe that's a different story. There's too many kids here. But, like, you know, there's just, like, he's just goofy and super nerdy and, like, really into it. And, like, it was just so fun to work with someone who, like, lives and breathes cinema. Like, he really does. And it's definitely one of my top 5 experiences working with him. It was always on my bucket list of things to do. My dad, when I first started acting, I had done kids that summer, then I ended up going to acting school because we didn't think anything of it until the movie came out. I was like, oh, this is legit, like, okay. And I wanted to continue acting. He goes, well, if you want to act, you gotta really know how to, so you should watch Reservoir Dogs. And I watched Reservoir Dogs 5 times in 1 week, which any other parent would have been unnerved by, but my dad was like, she gets it. I did, like, I learned so much watching that movie, which is why I won the trivia later on and years later with Quentin, which he appreciated. But like, from the very beginning of my career, he was just like someone I really wanted to work with, and so it was an absolute dream. Like, really, I'd do it again in a heartbeat. Yeah.
Over here.
Hi, during your preparation for Haunted Mansion, how many times did they make you ride the ride?
Oh, no, I mean, I've ridden it so many times. I love that ride. It's so dope. And actually, I literally just met this woman. She is a flight attendant on like 3 flights ago, and her dad created the buggy. So we were having this whole thing. She was in tears. He just passed this past year, and we were talking about it, and she said she literally had some like millionaire or whatever guy who would come and have like a private kind of tour, and it was in the beginning of creating the ride. And they had this buggy situation that was coming up. It still wasn't finished yet, but because he was like this big shot, he was like, no, I want to ride it. And so they were like, okay. And so normally it came up, and when it kind of pivots down, it went like this, and they all fell on their faces. And so this millionaire guy was like, maybe it should turn so it goes this way. So I just heard that story that was created because people were falling on their faces. Isn't that great? So I love that ride. That's a great one. I was so stoked that our movie really had all the Easter eggs and like really represented the experience. Stoked. Thanks.
I really enjoy what Justin did with that film.
Yeah, Justin killed it. I love that movie. And the cast, like my son is, just like 80 going, 12 going on 80. Like he's just like, he'd come in and be like, yeah, the university I'm starting and like 4 organizations, and I have this clothing line I'm doing. And it's like 11, you know what I mean? And I was like, wow, if I wasn't so busy and prolific myself, I'd feel really a type of way right now. It was just like, wow, you're really showing us how it's done.
Over here.
Hi, my name is Elise. What is like one of your favorite funny or like sweet moments from the set of Ahsoka?
Oh man. Okay, so many. Okay, I'll say literally because you said sweet, it brings to mind. So I'm doing all the fighting with Hayden, and we're on this like stage that's got lights underneath it and it's grating, and we're fighting back and forth, and I'm fighting for my life because he's heavy-handed, and having such a great time. And then I was like realizing like why his energy never went down, because every time we'd go back to his seat, there'd be candies. Chocolates, candies, like Hayden has got the sweetest tooth. I've never experienced anyone with a sweet tooth like his. Like he's just like constantly giving to me, just like hey, it was like Scooby snacks. Like it's just like constant, like snarf, snarf, snarf. Like it's just next level. So this is literally sweet. It was very sweet.
That's so funny.
I was scarf something. It was great.
I thought you were quoting Snarf from like Thundercats.
Yeah, I did a little Thundercats and I did a little Scooby. I guess I crossed the streams.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Thundercats fan. Over here.
Oh, yeah.
Hello, I gotta bend this down a little bit. My question is regarding Red and Star Wars. If you could choose one character from Red to bring into the Star Wars universe,
You know what's great about the question? I don't think she's ever been asked this.
No, I have not. Though I have to say, seeing Anthony and everyone, like, you know, we've got a couple crossovers into the Star Trek space, and I always think it would be so cool to like have like a Ahsoka, like a space bar that they all kind of meet and just like do the like Spider-Man point thing or something, you know? I'd have to, I mean, I'm gonna say Mimi just because I believe she's still alive somehow, some way. But, you know, Angel would be the one. I think Angel would really appreciate it. So another level, yeah. Maureen, I wouldn't do that to folks. Like, it would get messy real quick. Like, it'd just be like, why is the ship going down? You're like, because the number. Like, you know what I mean?
I wish, by the way, going off that question, I wish there could be like a what if episode on like Disney Plus where you like take Ahsoka and other Disney Plus, you know what I mean, like, or whatever it may be, combining universes in a way. Anyway, I wish they could explore that more. That's all I have.
It's
Hi.
a great honor to get to ask you a question. I'm a big fan of your work in Ahsoka, but I actually first learned about you as a kid from Sin City. Not the most kid-friendly movie, but it became one of my favorite movies. I read all the comics, and as I was reading them, I realized that you, like a lot of the actors in that movie, just perfectly embodied the character. It's like they could have ripped the character off the page and turned him into a person with you. So I wanted to know, like, what was your level of preparation for the role? Did you talk to Frank Miller? Did you read the comics? I know they
Yeah.
did the storyboard, so yeah, I was just curious about that.
Oh yeah, oh right on. I read all the books, and obviously I you know burned holes in both Robert and Frank's ears. But I remember when I came in, and you know we were first talking about it, we were seeing how they literally like made the earrings exactly, which were just so wild, and my costume fit in one hand, and I was like, this is great. And I remember we were sitting and talking about the whole story, and I'm asking all these questions, and then I went into hair and makeup just to kind of whatever, and then I came back, and he was like, wait, what did you do? And I was like, I cut my hair. Like he was like, wait, what did you do? I'm like, I cut my hair. And my manager and I'm like, you're working 4 days on this. Why did you cut your hair? And I was like, because Gail was like fire, and like I had to go for it, you know. So I just everything about it, I wanted to get in, and I have to say that one of those things that I've learned is to have, in that sense, better conversations around the costume, because my boot straps kind of just like little zag lines. It was made with this like really taut leather, so I couldn't bend my knees. So I had to stand. They had like a board that I could like lay flat on, like in between takes, or I would just like lean on things because I couldn't bend my knees. Until the last day, it was like, let's use elastic. I was like, wow, okay, yeah, next time have a deeper conversation with the costumes. Yeah. But everything else I deep dived on. Like that one took me a second. That was the last lesson I learned on that one.
Thank you.
I'm going to say that we're almost out of time. I apologize.
I'm sorry, I'm long-winded, guys.
I know, I apologize for not saying that sooner. I'm messing this up in every panel I moderate. Right over here.
Hi. So for Ahsoka, she's gotten to interact with characters like Luke, Anakin, Sabine, and countless others. In live action, is there a character that you hope to interact with, whether if it's for another season of Ahsoka or a different project that you hope interact with?
I mean, I said Ventress once, and people were like, she died, and you should know that it was in the book. And I was like, okay, guys, calm down. I'm just saying, I just love her. I mean, Varys, probably. She has some spin to do. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm still trying to get Grand Admiral Thrawn. Exciting. So let's see if I can get on another space whale or something and make that happen. I couldn't catch up with him last time.
Thank you.
So close.
Over here.
Hi, my name is Spencer, and you are, without a doubt, the queen of the franchises between Marvel, Views, Universe, and of course the Filoniverse.
Zoe Saldana, I think, tops that, but I'm trying. I'm going for it. That's my girl.
And notwithstanding Hockey the Trek, what other kind of franchise would you love to be part of?
I was like so Hasselhoff. Now suddenly I want to like have a Knight Rider or something. Hacking the Trek. I mean, yeah, that's it. I mean, that's all the universes. Then after that, like maybe a mutant. Yeah. X-Men in action.
They are coming.
Yeah, claws. Let's go, Wolverine. Let's do it.
They're coming real soon. You know.
Yes.
Over here.
I'm sorry, great to be here this weekend. When you were first found out you were in the mix for Ahsoka, what attracted you to the role, and have you learned anything since portraying her?
I mean, I think her, you know, the fact that, especially when you even see the sort of young short film of her as a baby, the fact that she's just so capable. She's such a, you know, she's obviously very skilled and an expert from just training so hard. And it was really cool to see, and also in some of the stories where you have that, where you see how hard Anakin trained her, and we're to the point where she was just getting knocked out repeatedly, and like, let's just go again. And you can then fathom, like, that's how she clearly survived Order 66, you know, just having that kind of level of training. But when you just think of someone who's that capable, who's that, like, just majestic in her power, and she still trains that hard, she still pushes herself that hard, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's just the thing that so moves me about her, and I think about as I, like, you know, doom scroll on Instagram and, like, watch people work out and go, I gotta do that. You know what I mean? Like, I can fall into that same thing as well, and it's just such an interesting thing to imagine someone who literally just roams, seeing where she could do good and be of service. You know, that just really moves me about her. So getting to explore that again and having a second season where now she's allowed friendship more into her life, that she's taking on this role of master and having a Padawan of her own, and like allowing herself to see the full capacity, you know, of Anakin, and like that he isn't just any one of his particular choices, but the full embodiment of who he was as a being in her life. And I think that allows her to graduate to a different experience of herself, where she doesn't have to sit in those doubts and those fears anymore and kind of be stuck on this sort of past conversation. Doesn't mean that her present and her future aren't in peril, you know, and that, you know, that doesn't mean there's no chaos. But I've said this before, but I'll say it again, that's my favorite thing about Star Wars, is that it's always a daily choice and moment. It's not like I get to just be good and you get, you know, be bad and like that's it forever. It's like you always have a choice. And I love that she's just, I think the burden of the fear and the guilt and the doubt and like the worry of things in the past, that I feel like we graduated out of that in Ahsoka in our series. And now she kind of gets to forward think a little bit and be present in a different way. And I like that that lightness isn't just in her outfit, but in her being. And I'm looking forward to exploring more of that and what that is for someone. Like, we would talk a lot about Gandalf. You know, again, someone who's just like so powerful and yet still had levels to achieve, you know? And so that's what I'm curious to see in someone just that excellent, to see where she goes.
Very well said.
Thank you.
This is going to be our last question.
Sorry, I'm so long-winded, guys. You guys could have got your questions in place. It's so shorter.
Hi.
My answers.
So Rent was my first thing that I ever saw you in, and I probably was thinking that way too young. But would you ever do anything musical again?
Yeah, actually, my very first thing that I have to say, actually, you know what, thinking of it, that was probably the thing I was most nervous about, was I did Two Gentlemen of Verona at Shakespeare in the Park. And that one actually, like, scared me so much, because it was the Galt McDermott version, so it was the musical. It was like, so we were singing and doing Shakespeare. And Oscar Isaac, it was his first job out of school, it starts with an L, the actor school. Art school. Say it. New York? Starts with an L? Huh? Juilliard. Oh, yeah, so it doesn't. It has 2 L's in it. Though, sorry. Don't listen to me. I don't even. Sorry, I didn't know the word. But it has 2 L's though. But yeah. So his first job out of Juilliard. Again, never could have thought that the both of us would end up in Star Wars, which is so incredible. But yeah, and I just remember having to do Spanglish, which I can fake Spanish really well, but I really don't speak it that well. So it was just like nerve-wracking, like everything about it. So I was just looking. I ate a burrito every single day in prep, like as we were filming. Like my costume had to be let out a couple times because I would just. But I just had this pit of like anxiety in my stomach every day, and it was like, I'm gonna projectile vomit if I don't have rice and beans. Like I'm Latina, and I eat rice and beans every day. And all the other actors are like backstage prepping, doing their makeup and stuff, and like having smoothies, and I'm like like pounding a burrito every single day beforehand just to like have this lump in my stomach so I could step out on stage. And it was just the most amazing experience. We had people, you know. Some people got like engaged and stuff, and it was just so dope. And people start talking to me in Spanish afterwards because they thought my accent was so good, and I'd be like, just phonetically learning my lines. But that was such an amazing experience, and like that one was singing, so it was really fun. And that, I have to say, I think that's what allowed me was around that same summer, I got Clerks 2 and auditioned and got Red. So it was a very big summer, and I know doing that musical was what got me into it. And I've done like some song stuff on like an Outkast album and like things like that. Like I love singing, so I would love to do it again. But yeah, those are my good times. So thanks. But someone playing it.
On that note, ladies and gentlemen in Boston, please a warm round of applause for Rosario Dawson. You guys all have a fantastic weekend. Thank you so much for coming out.